Hello, and welcome to this episode of 49 Faithful Lee. I'm your host, Miriah Lee, and tonight I'm joined by a very special guest, my faithful special co-host of the night, Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm good. How are all of you?
Doing well, doing well. It's been a while since you've been on. Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
TL is on a work, I call it a vacation. He says he's on a work trip, whatever that means. I don't know. My work doesn't pay for me to go on work trips, so I call it a vacation. So that's why he's not here. Maybe he'll be back next week. Who knows? Maybe he'll just be too busy again. But I appreciate you joining me for a little girl talk, girl 49er talk.
Always.
So let's get into closing Chicago. I had predicted that we would lose against Chicago because the way I was looking at it was until the 49ers showed me that they weren't losers, I wasn't going to predict them to win, you know? So, I mean, we did come out with a win. I don't know. It seems like, some people are happy about the win. Some people are happy because it's a win, but not thrilled. How are you feeling about the Chicago game?
I'm happy the losing streak is finally over. I enjoyed Victory Monday just because Zach finally had the Victory Monday suits back, and I enjoy those. But in general, it's just one win. It's not anything too excited about now that it's been a few days to soak it in. And it doesn't fix our overall problem. So that's how I'm feeling now.
How do you think, like Jimmy did? How do you think the offense did as a whole, the defense did?
I think Jimmy sucked for 3 quarters and then finally got enough oomph to start pulling it together and won in the end. But I'm not going to praise him for that performance because it took to like the third, fourth quarter for the team to finally win. So,
did you hear the rumor or I don't know if it's a rumor or what it is, but supposedly Kyle said to Jimmy on the sideline,
yes.
you think you can handle this? This is easy shit, or some words like that, and
Okay.
that Trey supposedly was warming up. I didn't see that for myself. What do you think
I
about
did
that?
not see it for myself. I heard it for myself. Okay, so what happened was on Last Second Sports, Justine Yeller's show, which everyone should check out. He was talking to Grant because he's always on Grant's show, and he was saying that Grant overheard from his guy KP, who does the KP show, that Kyle was reaming out Jimmy in front of everybody and saying, "It's this freaking simple. Can you do this? Yes or no?" And supposedly Jimmy says yes. And they had
I
the
would
big
hope so.
and it was either like right before half or it was like the 2-minute offense, and somehow the big Debo play, the big the one where it was right short of the end zone, that one, that was the linchpin that kept Jimmy in the game. So instead of switching over to Trey, they kept Jimmy in because of that one play. And I think Debo's gotten a very unfair amount of hate this week for that because he didn't finish because he had, I believe, a hamstring injury and he couldn't finish because he was dealing with that and he was winded and he was putting his calf to the max and smartly went out of bounds, I think. So,
I mean, is that his fault that he's having to play through an injury and the offense only being ran through Debo Samuel? Like,
no. And I also think that we all freaked out with those those drop passes or those non catches from Debo early in the game. And then I was listening. I think it was either Jesse or one of the other main people who I really truly appreciate, was talking about how it was either the first drop or the second drop was a hospital ball that they could tell on the 22 the all 22 film.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm glad that Debo, unlike Kittle, who is my favorite, didn't go up for it, because I hate hospital balls costing guys severe injuries and missing severe time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we can't have Jimmy take out every single player that we have on the offense. It's kind of ridiculous. It's like they either are getting taken out by injury or Jimmy's taking them out because of injury.
I think it's funny, though, that he's become a runner now because he's trying to prove that he can be mobile just like Trey can. Like, whatever Trey can do, Jimmy can do better, kind of thing. And I also think it's a little sad that the major news was this week. They kept talking about how Jimmy finally met up with Fred, and the two of them are trying to combine forces to, bring the team together and inspire them and get them to get on top of everything. And I was wondering, why, after 4 games, does Jimmy finally do this to fight for his job, to finally step up as a vocal leader? And now he's being praised as a leader, and it took a 4-game losing streak and literally almost getting embarrassed by all your friends and family, because that was what was happening, for you to finally decide that you're going to fight for this job and become what we needed you to be, a vocal leader. And I've only seen that once out of him before, and that was some random comment when we were struggling against Detroit, and he said National Tight Ends Day and started that whole thing. So for me, is it nice that Jimmy didn't have a bunch of turnovers? Yes. Is it nice that he won the game? Yes. Is it nice that he doesn't freak out as much as he used to in games when things were down? Yes, but I'm not going to go and say that I'm a Jimmy fan anymore, or that I wouldn't prefer Trey, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 1000%. And that's one of the big things, that I don't like about Jimmy is that, I mean, besides, he can't play football, is that is the way that he doesn't act like he loves football. He isn't, that team guy. He's not going to put the team on his back, everything that we kind of saw from him this last week, we haven't seen from him this entire time. So it's not even like, Kyle was like, oh, your back was against the wall. Like, his back was far from being at that point. Like, he had one peaky toe left on top of the cliff and was dangling by that on the side of the cliff, and finally decided to show up a little to, like, get himself on the cliff a little bit. Like, that's, if it's going to take you to get to that point for you to finally step it up, finally put the team on your back, finally you want to act like you're a running quarterback when there's, 2 other running quarterbacks like on the same field, like, that's kind of ridiculous. But, and even at the end of the day, like, he still didn't throw for any touchdowns. It's like, everybody's like, oh, he didn't have any turnovers. Like, okay, he didn't throw for any touchdowns either. So
the funniest thing I see on Twitter every single time is that Trey Lance can't be our starting quarterback, or shouldn't get starting quarterback reps or packages, because he can't make the middle of the field throws or the dink and dunk throws that Jimmy can. It makes me laugh, because I'm like, well, okay, but Jimmy's not exactly that reliable in that either. He throws them too high, too low. Guys get hit. Guys can't get much footage, or if they get much traffic, they have to do it all in yak and put themselves on the line. It's crazy that we're all so in love with the win that we were forgetting how much we hated this guy, that this guy was driving us crazy, and all of it is being swept under the rug because of a win.
Yeah, I mean, would you rather have a quarterback that can throw right here, or one that isn't that great throwing right here but can throw everywhere else?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, I'm not excited by what I've
it's
seen
the same
one
thing with
bit.
the Joey Sly hate, I think, because everyone's whining about how, well, anything from like maybe 38 yards in, Robbie's really good at, but Robbie's missed extra points before. Robbie has missed chip shot field goals before that. So I don't understand this random love for Robbie Gold just because Joey Sly has this weird inclination to either, I think it was the right or the left, and has a bit of an issue if it's not 50 yards out. And if I remember correctly in that game, we only missed one extra point and one field goal. And yet everybody was willing to say, oh, this is why he was on off teams and why he didn't get anybody to believe in him and they didn't want him and blah, 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 blah. And it's just the hate these guys get for some things and the passes other players get for the same things, it confounds me to no end. Like Deandre Lenore was getting flailed by the media, by the fans for a few hiccups in the Eagles game, and now he's either a healthy scratch, benched, or he's being groomed to be a nickel corner from whoever you believe. And at the same time, Mosley and Norman have actually struggled a lot and are making worse mistakes than the rookie, and yet everyone's okay with that because they're vets or because Norman gets the interception at the end of the game. So I don't know.
I mean, how quickly people forgot that Robbie Gold was looking more like Robbie Bronze, and they were pissed off that he got, his contract extended again. But, now all of a sudden he's the savior, like he's the greatest kicker to ever exist. It's like, I mean, it's crazy the standards that some of this fan base has set, like it's okay to be not okay with a mediocre quarterback, a mediocre team, a mediocre whatever,
I think the major thing is they want to stay with what's known, what's safe, what we've won with. I think that mentality has sunk deep in with a lot of us, and I think it's very hard to let that go and to take a chance on someone new and allow them to have the same kind of hiccups and bumps and bruises and growing pains along the way, and to improve and to maybe take us somewhere past where we've been. So to maybe a winning record more often, to be in the playoffs more often, to win the Super Bowl, which we haven't done the last 2 times. So I think it's a lot of being safe, and I think that's why a lot of people are now wishing they had Mac Jones like Joe Montana, or that we had not given up all 3 picks up and made that aggressive move to get to 3 to make sure that we got Lance. I think the safety and what's been the winning culture or what's gotten you here has stunted a lot of how we see things.
So it sounds like to me the 49ers are like someone that's staying with a 7 because she's hot and you're scared to let her go because you don't know, you don't want her to find somebody else out there, and you don't know if you can find somebody, that's an 8, 9, or 10 out there. So you want to stay with this 7, even though she treats you like shit and she's out screwing everybody because you're just scared to let her go. But
exactly.
You got to let her go. There's a 10 out there. I promise you there's a 10 out there. You got to look. And he's there. He's on the bench, All the 49ers do is got to look. They're 10 sitting there on the bench waiting. You got to let that 4 go because, I mean, he's just not cutting it anymore. Just not cutting it.
I love that.
This right here. This is something I was going to bring up. I heard this when I was getting ready about Joe Montana saying the 49ers should have drafted Mac Jones because he's more NFL ready. And it's like, it's funny that, Young, he wants to go with Trey Lance, and Montana, he's not going to pick Trey Lance. That's more like a Steve Young quarterback,
Did you hear that on Monday Night Football? Steve Young talking with Alex Smith, and they were debating the pros and cons of either being redshirted like Patrick Mahomes and only playing in one game.
I seen that they had that discussion, but I didn't hear it.
Okay, so I know Jesse has the tweet up on his page somewhere. I can't pull it up. But essentially what happened was him and Alex were talking about what was different with what Alex went through with like the 5 to 6 different head coaches, coordinators, the constant people, different things that he went through, and then what Rodgers went through, and what happened with Brett, and how Jordan Love sat his rookie year, and now he has this opportunity to play now. And he was kind of debating the difference between guys being thrown there ill-prepared like a Zach Wilson, and then the guys that sat like a Patrick Mahomes behind somebody else, learned, and then got out on their own the next year, And Steve was going on and on and on about how for him, he learned more in his rookie year with Tampa, I believe it was, being like 2-12, I think the record was, but I think he said 2-14 on the show, and how that got him more prepared than any of his winning MVP years. So it was interesting to me because I think that's one of the more honest things I've heard from Steve Young when it comes to the Niners.
Interesting. It is interesting to hear, different quarterbacks' perspectives on the situation. I also think, it makes a big difference if that quarterback is sitting behind a Hall of Fame quarterback or if they're sitting behind a trash can. I mean, I think, the results are going to be different,
I don't think that Alex is exactly Hall of Famer, even though I love Alex Smith, and I'm probably one of the very few who does. But I think Alex Smith was willing to teach after what he went through with Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And I think that helped the situation for the Chiefs because he knew he was not going to be the guy, that they respected him, that they told him that we're going to take a chance on this guy and trade up for him. And he was in the right mindset to teach. And I think that is the major issue because when you do these kind of turnovers, I think a lot of people are going to be like Montana and Rodgers and Jimmy, where they say the right things and they want to be the hero and not let go. And they'll say they'll do right by the rookie, but they really, really don't want to prepare the team for the next guy.
Yep. Yeah, I don't see. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing, and TL and I discussed this last week, is that when Trey started and, would come off the field, you didn't see Jimmy trying to, have him over there and help him and talk to him. And, like, he could not care two shits what Trey's doing.
No.
That whole bullshit that came out at the draft, like, I could be sick with that freaking bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that makes me sick to my stomach. Like, how they had to push that. Oh, Jimmy was the first one to reach out. It's like, come on. Even, what was he supposed to do at that second? He reached out and told him, fed him a bunch of freaking bullshit.
No, but it felt forced even when I think it was Trey's first presser as the starter, so it was going into the Arizona game.
Mm-hmm.
That he was saying that he was saddened to see that Jimmy wasn't healthy enough, that Jimmy's the leader, that Jimmy's the quarterback, and it felt kind of forced, like they forced Trey to say those kind of things before they actually got into the questions about how he was preparing for the game and how he was doing and how comfortable he is in the game. and practice and everything else. And I'm like, why are you putting this young guy on the spot so badly that he has to pump up your lame duck coach quarterback before he's even asked about his first start? I mean, that was his official first start. I mean, he had been in before, and you're making him talk about Jimmy first, and that really, I guess, peeved me.
Yeah, and I think that we've seen a lot of that this season with everybody's pressers. You know, is that like they're forcing us Jimmy. You know, like we don't. Oh, Jimmy played well. Oh, Jimmy's our guy. Oh, Jimmy is this. Oh, Jimmy's jawline. Oh, Jimmy, whatever the hell. You know, it's just
the
like
obsession with the turnovers. Like that's the one thing that they're keep propping. Like Jimmy didn't turn it over. Let's praise him. And I'm like,
he shouldn't.
That's what your quarterback's supposed to do. Like they're not supposed to be playing like Patrick Mahomes right now or Zach Wilson, where they're like turnover machines. Like we shouldn't make such a big deal out of ball safety. Like if you were doing that for the running backs, people will laugh at us like we don't know football. I mean, so why are we doing that for the quarterback who has been here for 5-6 years or whatever it was since 2017? So I don't understand the mollycoddling and babying of his feelings. I think that's what it comes down to. Like, yep. I root for my team. I root for whoever's on the field. I have no love for Kyle Juszczyk. I mean that more than abundantly clear everywhere I go. But that doesn't mean I won't congratulate him if he has a good block or he has a good play. But at the same time, I don't understand that as soon as you say one bad thing about someone or you admit that they're not your favorite player, you're a hater. Yeah. Or you're not a good fan because you don't support everyone the same or you don't like certain players. Like, it's silly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tweeted about that earlier today. You know, it's like the minute you criticize somebody or, you know, have anything to say about anybody on the 49ers, it's, oh, you're not a faithful, you're not a real fan, you're not a true fan. You never played football.
You don't
like,
know.
Well, no shit, because I'm a lady, I'm a female, and you know, people like you didn't let us play football.
It's the same thing when you praise a guy. Like, God forbid, I say that I like George Kittle, and well, then I'm just a Kittle apologist, or I can't see that Kittle has jobs or has flaws, or he can get hurt, or that he must have the hots for him. It's that I know there are a lot of nice people out there, and I love so many of them. And if any of you follow my Twitter page, you know that constantly. But at the same time, you get a lot of hate for that because if you like someone, then you must be into them. And if you don't like someone, that makes you a banshee or the B word or some other horrible kind of name. So there's not like really a middle ground the way it is for guys. Guys are just passionate, or they know football, or they know when a guy's done. And for females in particular, it's either you're a hater, you don't know what you're talking about, or you must have the hots for him. And I would like to see a little bit more of understanding, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big issue in the sports media world, the sports talk world, the sports content creator world, even. You know, it's like, and you know, it's not just from guys. Let me put that out there as well.
No,
because there's a lot of females that have no problem not supporting other females and, you know, not talking up other females. We'll put another female down the first chance they get. So it's not just the men. However, you know, it doesn't make any of it right regardless. But it's like, if you're not putting pictures of yourself half naked, or
don't even get me started on those.
If you're talking to, I mean, you have to know that how many times me and TL have been together now because we do a podcast together, you know, like, I'm sure all the whispers, that I've been with Breezy and, down the whole line, because a female can't have male friends in the sports world or, in very much world today. And, you should see how shocked that all those people are when they find out I'm married to a female, but, that's
it's
how it
really
is.
gross. Like, I have a special bond. I can't tell if you can see it. Hold on. Can you see that? All right. So right here it says Niners Hive. This I got from the Niners Hive people on. I won it on their 100th episode. They sent me this beautiful hoodie for free because I won. My comment was randomly picked, and I comment a lot in their page because I have a bond with Zach. He was there for me when my mom was going through her health scare. He supported me when she was going for her biopsy, and I thought she had cancer. So I remain loyal to the people who I've had friendships with. Right? I put those people first, and I really push them harder than I push normal people. Mm-hmm. So for me, and you know this, I think Crystal and Denise know this because I came to you guys in the DM chat. It broke my heart when some asshole was saying that I must be banging one of them because there was no other reason that I was being thanked or had my comments picked up more often by them or had my questions answered more from them, or that I was so wholeheartedly supporting them because I must be one of their chicks.
Right.
And that really, really upset me because not only is it insulting to me, it's insulting to them. It's insulting to their actual partners.
Right.
Yeah, their actual partners, their wife and fiance, respectively. But it's either that kind of psycho chauvinistic attitude we get, or it's the other one. Like, oh, she's such a librarian. She remembers everything. It's like this backwards compliment you get. Like, how dare you as a female actually remember a few things? Like, it's wrong. And so for me, I push your channel a lot. I push Crystal a lot, and I know she's not the only one on the show, but I think it's very important that yes, we push Mose and we push Wayne and we push Fear the God and all the other people like Donnie who started the show. But I think it's very important to push other females because we take a lot more harassment for what we say, whether we're right or wrong, because of who we are as a sex. And I think it's very important to support and thank the ones that step up and make a voice because it's been so hard. So I always hold Miss Debbie in such high regard because she took me under her wing and she made me feel comfortable more than anybody when I first started off on Twitter again. And I adore her to pieces because she was one of those very few people who doesn't care if you're female or male. She doesn't care if you're from the Bay or if you're from, like me, from New Jersey. She just loves you for who you are, and she loves good people with good energy. And I wish a lot more people were like her.
I agree 1,000,000,000%. Miss Debbie she is like the queen of the 49ers female Twitter, YouTube, faithful period. Like
Exactly.
I don't think she realizes how much effect she has on people's lives.
I really don't. And
people's lives.
The psycho thing is what's I've been kind of obsessed with Silver Owl Kev because he was like one of those first people to follow me. So he's one of my favorite people to talk to, and he's a vet. So please, everybody, if you know who Silver Owl Kev is, or if you don't, just take a few minutes next week and wish him a happy Veterans Day. But because I had seen him on Nothing But Niners, right? So there's this one episode that when I first started watching the shows and I went backlogged a few things because I was like, okay, I'm interested in this show because I had met you on Niners All Day and I was curious about this other show I kept seeing you on. So I went and saw the Browns overreaction video, and that one is still one of my favorites to this day. And
shout out to Bronze and Dre. I hope you guys are
Yes.
both doing wonderful.
So I was watching the Browns video, and they had MI to the Bay. They had I think Perry was on that episode still. Silverado Kev, and then Nick, Wayne, and Big Mike. And they were all ganging up on him because he was saying how the Browns defense or defense line was better than the Niners defense line, right? And it was this random bunch of people, and it felt like I had known these people all my life, and at the same time they were complete strangers to me. And I had laughed so hard, and every time it's like I've been in like an Uber high or like an Uber low, I can go back to that one video and I can always get that feeling again. So what was really special, what she did for me, and I shouted this out last night, was my wish was, because Kevin has a new show called Real Talk Niner Talk. It's Niner Real, I think the Twitter handle is.
Make sure you go subscribe.
And Miss Debbie, who had heard my birthday wish, she went out of her way to talk to Mike and Brian and all the guys on Nothing But Niners. And the crazy part is the night that it actually happened, I fell asleep because those were the March Midnight Madness shows. But she actually came and talked to all of them, and she got my birthday wish. She got Silverado Kev on for one more night on Nothing But Niners, because that is what I said was my birthday wish. And I think she's just such a huge, incredible person who just takes everybody under her wing so much that she doesn't really get the credit that she deserves, because it's just so who she is. And to this day, I will never forget what she did for me. Like, I've gotten nice things from her. I've gotten nice words said to me by her, but by praising me for coming out and talking. And I think for me, if I hold on to one memory forever for her, that's my favorite memory, because she got my birthday wish to happen. But she didn't have to keep fighting to do, and that was just insanely awesome of her.
Yep. She is a great overall human being, just it's so rare these days to find genuine, wonderful, good,
beautiful human beings.
Yes, it is, and it's sad to say that, but Miss Deb definitely is one of those, and I can't wait until the last game of the season when we go to play the Rams because I will get to meet her, and I can't wait. And Breezy and Peachy, it's gonna be, I don't know if LA is ready. LA better get ready for us.
Isn't the game in LA to end the year?
Yep.
I think we're gonna win that game solely because John Chapman has been a good luck rabbit's foot, and every single game that he's had for his Rush road trip has been a win for us. So they won in Chicago, they won in Philadelphia. I'm taking the leap, and I'm saying we're gonna beat LA that week.
Yeah, we got the tickets to go to that as well. I'm excited to, just kind of meet up with, all the 49ers content creators and, just the little Twitter and YouTube community, family that we have, grown to love, it should be exciting to meet up with them. It's going to be fun. And yeah, like you said about Miss Debbie, like she sent me something, my wife something, my daughter something, my brother-in-law something, like she's just like a amazing person. So to wrap that all up, we love you. We appreciate you.
And it's her birthday month. So I expect everyone to do exactly what she does for us. Make birthday cards. If you don't have any money to send her, just send her a nice message.
No, find some money.
Well, not everybody can, but
just go hold a sign on the corner, say, we'll work for $5 for Miss Deb's birthday card, okay? I mean, come on. It only will take 2 minutes. I mean, here in Vegas, it'll take 2 minutes. I don't know about where y'all live. So to wrap up that sentimental feeling there. No, but seriously, when we tell you, like, we're not just ladies that want to bitch and complain because we're not getting the same respect that men get and yada yada yada, like
we're fighting
we're
for each
being,
other.
yeah, like when I lift these ladies up, and I lift the fellas up just the same, that's just me. Like, if all of us lifted everybody else up just by that alone, we could all be making it right now. But
Which is nice,
instead,
is
people are
why
like
everyone's
selfish,
crossing over. Like last night, Nick from Nothing But Niners was on Niner Minded, and a lot of people might not even hear of Niner Minded or have tried his channel because they don't know him. And then Nick does his show, and maybe they got somebody to pay attention to his show or just try it out because Nick's there. So I think it's important for females and for males to celebrate each other, to have crossovers, to have shout out videos, to have each other's back, because we're all faithful. We're all in this together. We all have the same highs. We all have the same lows. We all have the same passions, the same aggravations. We're a community, and that's the beautiful side of Twitter, is because we get to meet these people and we get to have a family outside of our actual lives that we really truly get to belong to. So yeah, it can be crazy, and yes, it can be way major ass toxic, but underneath it all, there are some really beautiful gems and good things to celebrate. So yeah, our season might be not going the way that we all hoped, because I think a lot of us had 13-4 or 14-3 or whatever record before the year started, but it doesn't make you a bad person if you want to celebrate the silver linings or the good in your life, or shout out things, or be a positive person. Like Get 'em Boy and Miss Debbie and these beautiful people who constantly have kind things to say about the team and people in general are just such breaths of fresh air. There's not enough time to celebrate those people.
I completely agree. And like I was saying, if just everybody that, even just if every content creator were to go subscribe and follow the other content creators, like there would be enough to have everybody's channel going off of just that. And literally it takes 2 seconds out of your time to go hit a little button.
You don't even have to like it or have watched it. Just push somebody for the sake of pushing somebody.
Give it a damn thumbs down if you want. I don't care. Just press something, because it helps regardless. Like, you have no idea how much that just little interaction helps build a channel and helps get things going.
It's kind of like high school on Twitter, where everybody wants to reach a milestone. They want to hit 6,000. They want to hit 7,000. They want to follow all these people and get followed back, and yet you can mute and block people but keep the follow. I don't understand why you can't do the same thing with YouTube. I mean, for the life of me, Niners Hive has been one of the longest running shows, apart from maybe John Chapman and Nothing But Niners, and they're still stuck at 1,087,000 follows.
Yeah, they don't get nearly the
it baffles me that they've
been
begging people since way before preseason started to help them get to 2,000 subscribers. And I follow them on 6 different Google accounts because I'm a gaming freak, and Marvel's Contest of Champions makes you have different Google sign-ins. So I'm the rare duck. But it baffles me that these people are begging just for 2,000 follows. But at the same time, some people get all the follows in just one day. So it is what it is. Now, can we talk about your goat? Because I like your goat. And he had a good day.
Let me touch on this real fast, because I was expecting that, I was going to go to the game and see Pie standing there with, instead of, I don't know, is Jack in the Box, is that on the East Coast too? Do you guys know about Jack in the Box? Like Jack, he has like just a big white round head, the guy for Jack in a Box. So like that's how I was expecting Pinor to look, just a big round red head. Because he just has like a red dot in all his pictures, so I mean,
it's fine if people want to not show who their face is. I mean, I did it for the longest time, and then I was like, you know what, screw this, I'm sick of being called a guy, so I put my real picture up on my one Google account, and then the other one has the gift from East Bay Chris, and it's the little Trey Lance bobblehead. So if people want to keep their anonymity, they don't want to be seen if for whatever sex they are, that's perfectly fine with me. You're
agree.
faithful, you come out and support the shows, you're a nice dude to talk to, or a nice female to talk to, or however you identify, that should be more merited than what you look like. I think that's the beauty of Twitter, because before that, you don't really know what anyone looks like. You just get along with them based on their personality. So,
or don't.
So for all those people who judge based on looks, I think a lot of us became friends just because of how we click.
I'm waiting, Pinor, because it's like a date. You shot me down for our date already, and now I'm just waiting. I'm just patiently here waiting. Like, I'm going to be like that skeleton waiting at the bus stop for Pinor to start his channel so he can be on my show, So sad.
I think Pinor called into Jesse's show, so.
I mean, but he supports Jesse. He don't want to give me the same support.
Aww.
Anyways, let's get on to Arizona for the second time.
Okay.
This one's going to look a little different. We obviously have Jimmy starting. We had Trey start the last one. We still are unsure, I think, at this time, if Kyler is starting, right? I don't think
I've heard it that all around. I've heard that he's day-to-day. I've heard that he is out for at least a week. I've heard that he could be even up to 1 to 3 games, not weeks. I've heard that it's a mild injury, that they're just taking it careful in practice because they don't want to re-aggravate it before the game. I swear more people are becoming Kyle Shanahan, where they're sending out misinformation just to confuse you.
I was just going to say, I mean, we can't even trust our own coach, so why would we expect that we can trust somebody else's coach, So, and obviously a big part too is JJ Watt. I mean, I know he's old and washed like everybody wanted to claim, but he was still making a huge impact on that team.
I think that's going to be huge.
Gone.
I think that's really going to be huge, and I think it's going to be huge because I think, like George Kittle, maybe people see them more injury riddled, so don't take them as seriously or don't want them on their team. But I think those kind of players are more important because of not only what they do on the field, but because of what they do on the sidelines. So they might not be your more traditional leaders, but they're high energy guys, like those guys that like to have a good time, to buck people up, to know the difference of when to joke and when to be like in the Jets game where he was sitting with, God, I'm going to hate myself for this. Who was the guy that was holding for Robbie that in the Jets game and kept screwing up? You remember? And George walked over to him, put his arm around the guy's back, put his head down, and they were talking ear to ear, and he was trying to get in his to shake everything off. Yeah.
Before we got Tabor, I think that was his last game with us, right?
It was, but those are the little things that about Kittle that don't get talked about. The high energy, the jokes. We've all seen them mic'd up. We've all seen the sideline stuff, but small stuff like that, where he goes over to a young guy or a struggling guy, and he tries to buck them up, or he tries to get them to shake off, or he constantly tries to improve the other tight ends so that they get better, so they push him to get better, because if they're competing to what he was, then he can push himself to try to get better than what he was. So I think those kind of people Yeah, it sucks that they're injured again. Yeah, they might cost too much money. Yeah, they might be too much against the dead cap, blah, 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 whatever you want to do to hate them. But I think those are the kind of leaders that a lot of our teams miss the most, because not only of what they do on the field, but what they do on the sidelines, what they do to get guys to shake off the bad plays, what they do to help the younger guys who maybe haven't gotten as many snaps live in a game to see stuff differently, or to tell them to go for that kind of hole, or when not to go for that kind of hold or something on the field. I think those kind of people are sorely missed. So if not for his on-field play, which they can maybe get out of Chandler Jones or some other buddy, I think J.J. Watt's going to be sorely missed because of what kind of a leader he is.
I agree. And let's talk about your guy Kittle. He's going to be back this week. He had a presser today.
Mm-hmm.
And did you see it?
No.
So he kind of seemed a little pissed off, or a little edgy, a little on the edge, I guess.
I've kind of stopped listening to pressers because they sound really, really rehearsed beforehand now, and they didn't used to sound like that.
They are. The PR team, right before they go on. Okay, make sure you say this. Make sure you say that.
So it kind of aggravates me because it's just. And after the last one I listened to, where I think it was Jimmy throwing Kyle under the bus, I was like, you know what? Me and Pressers gotta take a huge break from each other, because I'm like, you're calling him a good leader, but he's throwing his coach under the bus just like Aaron Rodgers. I couldn't take it anymore. But you know what? I'm glad he sounded pissed off, because he should be, because I think it's very wrong what happened to him on his birthday and the day before his birthday, that a lot of people were hating on him for liking some stupid ass Instagram post from some guy on the Arizona Cardinals, and everybody wanted to trade him, cut him, flail him, attack him on his birthday.
That Trey isn't Kyler or whatever.
That he's purposely sitting out because he's not a Trey fan, that he doesn't like Trey, that he keeps constantly harping on his birthday, and they were hashtagging him. And I think if people knew who his wife was, they would send her hate too, because they did it to Raheem Mostert's wife. They've done it to how many different players where they tag them and send their hate that way. So it's like,
it's really sad, when fans
breaks
take
my
it
heart.
to a personal level like that.
You know what? You don't have to like the player. You don't have to like them on their team. Like, I'm sure you have a list of people. I know I have a list of people who I would prefer off this team, specifically Robbie, Juice, and Raheem, but we all have that list. Like, we don't have to attack them and tag them and attack the people who don't want to do the same as you. That don't want to say, oh, well, just cut him because he's so bad, or he purposely. George Kittle did not put himself on IR, okay? The George Kittle has to forcibly be pushed into the luxury box because this guy is so psycho that he'll be jumping up and down on the sidelines, bucking up everybody, and the team literally has to sit him in a freaking air-conditioned box so that way he doesn't re-injure himself. This is who he is. This is who he's always been. So for all the people who attack him saying that he's sitting himself because he doesn't want to play with Trey, well, guess what? Jimmy's been the starter for the last couple of weeks, and he's still not playing. So was it really about Trey, or is it because he was legitimately injured?
Melissa's having that breezy effect.
You couldn't
waking up babies.
You couldn't decide what the hell Jimmy Garoppolo had. Was he having a leg contusion or bruise or what? Like, every 5 seconds they were changing the freaking story about his injury when Trey started, and yet you want to go and say Kittle's the same exact way? Kittle doesn't bench himself. Kittle doesn't say he's injured at all. He plays through his fucking injuries. He was playing in the Carolina game last Cardinals game. What was the game he came back for? 2 years ago, he came back for the Packer game with a freaking bone chip in his ankle and saying that he was just going to grit through the pain. This is the person who was yelling at his coach and coming out in pressers and saying that if it was up to him, he'd be playing. This is the guy that flew himself after the hospital ball that Jimmy got him hurt on, and, well, partially he got himself hurt on, flew himself out to the facility in the Virginias and then went up to MetLife to support his teammates. This is not somebody who sits himself. So for all the people who are saying that he sat himself because he hates Trey. Fine. Hate him for the young comments. Hate him for whatever you have against this guy. Perfectly fine. No one's going to try to force you to not be that way. But do not say this guy sits himself because he hates some young quarterback and he's so in love with Jimmy, like all the Jimmy stands that you hate, that he sat himself for 3 weeks and wanted to continue the storyline that this guy can't stay healthy. Because that is not who he is.
I don't think that he would have sat himself. That's ridiculous to think that. However, I do see why people are mad.
And I respect that
hurt
you
all the time.
I respect that you and Taryn think that he is someone to move on from because he is injured.
I mean, I have a Kittle jersey. Kittle, I love Kittle. Like,
no,
seriously.
But
I
didn't
at
say
the
that
end
you
of
guys
the
are
day,
haters.
like,
I don't legitimately that you just have an issue with him missing time, and I respect that. But my major gripe, and I'll keep harping it, is that he was attacked and hashtagged on his birthday and sent hate on his birthday and threats on his birthday, all because he was injured again, and you all thought that he sat himself. That is the one thing that really, truly pissed me off because that is not who he is. So, but let's move on from that.
Yeah, I would never think a guy would sit himself. Like, I mean, these guys love playing football. You know, like, I don't know. That's stupid. And to hashtag him on his birthday or any other day of the year with any kind of hate is ridiculous. And, you know, we got into that when it was the whole Raheem's thing, and we made it perfectly clear how we feel about that on this podcast. And
it was the same thing with Buda Baker in 2019 when he was getting the N-word and a bunch of other hate thrown his way when he hurt Kittle's knee. He was getting personally attacked, and then the team had to apologize to the fans. And I was like, this should not be a thing where the actual team has to apologize to their fan base.
Yeah. What going into this game now, you know, we talked about having Kittle back and who they're missing and possibly, you know, missing their starting quarterback. You know, that's huge. That team, you know, Kyler, obviously, you know, any starting quarterback's a huge part of their team, you know, obviously, but that team specifically, you know, relies on Kyler's legs, relies on his arm, relies on him being able to be so tiny and squeeze out little mouse holes and make things happen. You know, like, he's a quarterback that puts the team on his back and makes things happen. So if he's not available, you know, that's a huge hit that team's going to take, obviously. I think their backup is McCoy.
Yep.
You know, and he's no slouch, you know, that's for sure. And you know how backup quarterbacks do when they start, all of a sudden, you know, they're like fabulous for that one game and break records and make it into Hall of Fame and off of one game, and then that's it. You know, so
for no other reason, I will always have a little bit of respect for Colt McCoy just because he went into Seattle and beat Seattle in Seattle. When nobody expected that.
Hard. I mean, which isn't easy. I mean, you know.
No, last year that was not an easy thing. So I think the B12s are not the same this year. Like, we haven't won at home, so the home field advantage is not the same. But last year that was not the same. So even if Kyler plays or doesn't play or plays limited or Colt McCoy comes in, I think it would be a huge bad thing to overlook who that is, because that is someone who's had playing time. And they have a decent offensive line, so an offensive weapon, so he won't be like Mike White and getting injured tonight, which really broke my heart.
It broke my fantasy team's heart too. It broke my pocket's heart, my bank account's heart.
The question I have is not Kyler Murray, because it either is or it isn't. The question is, how is DeAndre Hopkins going to look? Because he's another injury that keep throwing around where it's not like confirmed if they're out, they're playing, or they're going to be limited.
Yeah. What are you expecting? Are you expecting? I mean, and talk about too. You brought it up about our home field advantage, or our home field advantage
Oh,
for the away team, I guess.
yeah,
Our
it's
home field
crazy.
disadvantage.
Our home field disadvantage will probably be right because I think on Wayne's show they were saying that it's been over a full calendar year since we've won at home, which really deeply saddens me because that had to be what the Rams Week 6 game. That had to be the last home win, and then the last. Yeah, that had to be it because then everybody started getting injured really badly again. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to say that I think we're gonna win this week. I don't trust Jimmy to put win together like I used to.
All
Or
he
at
does
least,
is win.
you know what?
He just wins.
I'm not touching that again. But what I am excited for is the few rookies that are gonna be playing this week. So for me, I'm gonna get really excited to see Talanoa Hufanga have another start. I'm curious to see if Ward plays or if somebody else comes in for Ward and what that's gonna look like. So I'm gonna watch for the little things. I'm gonna temper my expectations so I don't go all psycho again and lose my shit on John like I did during the Detroit game.
Better watch it. Because I already hear screaming and waking babies. And if you
Yeah.
say one wrong word, John, about Kittle, that might just be it for you. Just
No. Oh my God, no.
watch what you say, okay? I'm just trying to look out for you from my friends, you know.
I
Yeah,
am not that person at all, but
Melissa
okay.
Bobbitt over here.
No.
Also coming back, we have Jeff Wilson Jr. How do you
Yeah,
think does he get any carries? Um,
okay, so
how do you think that's going to shape out?
if I could have it my way, I would hope if he can actually play, because that's a big if, because I think he was supposed to be at the end of the month. So if he can actually play, I would hope that he is used in goal line seam packages, which is his real strong suit, and that way he doesn't have to put a lot of wear and tear on his body like he would have to, like in the Patriots game where he had to have the big runs and have the big step up to be running back one. So for me, I would hope it's either limited or the short passes that we kept giving to Juice in the Packer game, which pissed me off, that we kept going to use check over and over and over again for fourth downs and quarterback sneaks and stuff like that. So if Jeff Wilson is in, I would hope that's what he does. The the Cardinals game again, where he came in his first play ever, and he gets the touchdown to win the game. Those smaller plays where he doesn't really get injured right away and is out for the year.
You know, I think that's what I'm really hoping for him and Kittle both, is that they're not coming back at only 75% or whatever it may be, and we're throwing them out there too early because we need to hurry up and win.
I don't think
they end up getting hurt again.
I don't even think that any of them will be 75% healthy. But what I'm fearful of is always Buda Baker, because Buda Baker is like my bad juju charm, which I hate Buda Baker for the injuries. But what I'm really scared of, hold on a second. Can you hear me now? Is there still an echo?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. What I'm really afraid of is that these guys are going to get injured again playing the way they did when they were healthy. So they're going to be like Raheem Mostert or Kittle last year or Jimmy, where they're trying to play like their body's healthy, coming off injury, and then we lose them for the year. So even like with someone like Elijah Mitchell, which we don't know how serious his rib injury is, concerned about one bad hit, one bad move, one whatever, and that being something that costs us players when we have a bunch of injuries already to key positions and key starters. So that's my main concern. So I'm looking forward to the young guys getting time. I'm hoping whoever is coming off injury who plays doesn't get re-injured, and I'm going to be hopefully optimistic and hope we get our first win at home in a very long time, but not putting all my ducks in that one basket.
Do you think that whatever the issue has been with Trey Sermon, I mean, we've heard from one extreme to the next. He missed curfew till he is a shitty ass running back and should have never been drafted, whatever the hell. Whatever the issue, whatever is going on with that situation, do you think that Kyle is going to put him in over Mitchell just because Mitchell's hurt and Mitchell has the hot hand right now?
No. I would love to say that I believe that. I don't even believe that even 30% that would happen. Because I honestly believe, because the Packer game is important to me because of my brother, and you know how I feel about my brother. So for that game in particular, I really thought, okay, Elijah Mitchell's out, Raheem's out, it's Trey Sermon time, right? He was healthy scratched so far. Him and Ambry have been the most healthy scratch rookies in the world. And they were both the 3rd round picks. So I thought, okay, we're 3 games in, we're 2-0, we're back at home. It's a good day. We're going to be on what was it, Sunday Night Football? But this is the perfect time for Trey Sermon to take off. And like I said earlier, play after play, every time it was Kyle Juszczyk was running back number 1. Kyle Juszczyk had the small downs, the big downs, the this downs, the that downs. I don't understand it. It's everywhere with Kyle. It's either he wants to redshirt them, he doesn't want to give up on the season yet, he doesn't think we're out of the playoff picture yet, that he has this mentality where he wants to keep playing veterans and keep this, well, we're not eliminated, so we're not giving up a year, so we're not going to put rookies in to let them develop because we're not out of it yet. So he's not going to do this song and dance where the rookies get time. And now it's been Trey Sermon, it's been Deandre Lenore, it's been Ambry Thomas. They've been healthy scratches, or they've been used primarily in special teams or certain situations, and that's it. Like, they'll get at most 5 snaps in a game, and I love it. Even if he has some hasty issues where he has those big plays that Hasty had last year, you remember, where he had big downs, but at the same time he had those awful turnovers.
Yep.
But he had to learn on the job. Like, Matt Breida has huge plays like everybody loved in the Browns game, and then he had the issue with the dropping of the ball or having things punched out because he wasn't used to the way real defenders play in the NFL.
Imagine that.
It boils down to my main issue. Like, I don't get it. Like, okay, let's say we're not out of the playoffs. Like, let's say the Cardinals lose a bunch of games because Kyler's out for 3 weeks, right? Russell has the pin out now, but he's been out for a few weeks, and they've won with him, without him. So right now we're right with the Seahawks. Maybe the Cardinals lose a few games because they do Cardinalish things like the Cowboys, and things just fall apart for them like the Raiders. So even if we have the chance for the playoffs this year, how far are we going to go with these vets that we get that nobody else wants? I mean, and a lot of these guys are on 1-year deals now, so we're going to have to go through the same growing pains next year where you either get a bunch of vets and put off their game time again, or they suffer next year from the same growing pains because they didn't get any real snaps this year. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't understand the bias against the rookies. Like, it's one thing to say if your starters are all healthy, go with the starters, go with the vets, one thing. But you keep bringing in all these different guys, like a Josh Norman, like all the different guys that keep bringing to the practice squad for corner and safety and offensive line and receiver and all this other stuff and running back and
Guys that were on their couch last week.
guys that you've never even heard of. Like, I had never even heard of Kevin White because I forgot that Kevin White was even a first round pick until Mike talked about him so much last year. Like, and now Kevin White's getting his name out there again because he had that big play against the Buccaneers that helped them win the game. But like, these guys that no one's even heard of, and yes, they're nice stories. Like, I was a huge Kerry Hyder fan last year. I never heard of Kerry Hyder before that, but I became a huge Kerry Hyder fan. But we have these guys drafted for a reason. So either you're going to give them a chance when there are injuries, like there are for safety in corner, or you're going to just postpone the inevitable. And it's going to happen this year, next year, or the year after that.
I mean, I don't know why you can't understand why somebody that was on their couch last month is better than a rookie you drafted in the first and second round. Like, what is so hard to understand about that, Melissa? Kyle makes it.
It's not that. It's just, it's the way that he loves Compton, you know? Like, we're not getting Aaron Banks because Aaron Banks right now is supposed to be a healthy scratch, but he was a second round pick. And he's saying in the press that he's saying that Tom Compton is above him.
Yeah, he made sure to say that.
First of all, you would hope that someone who's been in the league for a very long time is above a rookie that's never played in the preseason or the regular season. So that's a given. You would also hope that somebody who was primarily brought here because they have knowledge of your system, because they were with you in Washington, that they would understand your system. So they should be higher in the depth chart. So, like I said, I don't know football the way a lot of people know football. I couldn't break down film like John Chapman. I don't think there's very many people who can break down plays like John Chapman. But to me, with all the salary issues, with all the salary cap whining, with all the whining that there's been that we can't go get a Von Miller or all these big guys like Fuller and all these people that want to be traded for, and we can't sign them because we keep bringing in all these different people who've been on the bench or have been out of the league because nobody else is picking them up. I don't understand. If you have a different option, like, it made sense last year. We had no options, right? Everybody was injured. First string, second string, third string, fourth string. Like, we were. And it was the pandemic, so there was no vaccine last year. So
right, we're expecting harder. Tom Bompton on our team at that point.
So it was harder because you couldn't bring in guys because you could only have certain guys on your practice squad because blah blah blah. You couldn't control it. You didn't understand how this was spread. This was just this new thing. Like, this thing had never happened before, a biological terror. So now that we have the vaccine, now that we have,
don't say the C word.
What?
Don't say the C word.
What C word? Oh, okay. Now that we know more, I don't understand why, if we have healthy options that you put capital into, options that you picked yourselves, why they are not getting a chance over some person that's never been part of this team up till a few weeks ago. I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on that because I feel like I'm doing all the talking tonight.
I stand where Jimmy Ward stands. Why the Rams can sign everybody and have money to sign everybody. Every big name player they can sign, and yet we're signing scrubs on the couch because we have no money. It doesn't make sense. You know, like,
yeah.
Every move from Kyle this season has been very questionable. And everything that you just said, I think everything points back to the common denominator is Kyle. Kyle's the one making these decisions. Kyle's the one that has all these friends in low places that he brings back and wants to have them on the team when they wouldn't even make anybody else's team if they weren't on our team. You know, like Tom Compton wouldn't be on a team. Travis Benjamin wouldn't be on a team if they weren't on our team. You know, yet here we are, but we can't play our rookies because we're a Super Bowl roster. Like, what?
You want to hear something funny? And it happened in the off season. I think it was either when Wayne or Dion was on John's show, The Locker Room Rant. We were laughing.
Go subscribe.
We were both laughing because they were like, we've never heard of this guy. And we're like, you know what? It's a Niner thing because we've been so injury riddled for the last few years. We know who the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Hell, we even knew most of the guys on the practice squad's names all by heart because we didn't know who was going to be available any given week. Like, it astounded fans for different fan bases to know that we actually knew everybody's names on the roster and where they went to school and how many games they've been in, because that was just so strange to them that we were so injury riddled that this is how we are as a fan base, where we're like, okay, yeah, I know that guy. That guy's this. And so, yeah, for me personally, I'm not going to get into that whole debate because that's just bring up the DeForest Buckner thing and opening up everything that'll piss everybody off. And I don't want to make you lose subscribers, but I can't make the team trade for people. I can't understand why certain teams like the Saints and the Chiefs and the Rams go all in, give up their capital, give in everything, and constantly seem to be paying everybody, keeping everybody, and still making moves. Like Tampa Bay kept their entire practical Super Bowl roster
and winning.
And still brought in people and are still in the thick of it. And mostly healthy. I mean, I know their secondary is banged up right now, but it is what it is. So is it frustrating as a fan? Yeah. But I think it gets better. It goes back to the debate that's on Twitter right now, where everybody before the deadline was we need to trade off Kittle, or we need to trade off Bosa, or we had to trade off Fred Warner, or we had to trade off this, and this person because they have value, or because this position's valued, or because they didn't like these people and they had value in trades, right? To get back first rounders. But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't want the first rounders because
our team sucks at drafting.
Yeah, well, our team sucks for the first 3 rounds of drafting, which is very true. But that's what you want to pick for, though, to find those kind of guys that mesh well with your team, which come out and fight hard. And yeah, I think there's not a single Niner fan in the world who would say, well, we would like somebody who's not insanely injury prone from high school and college and so far and so forth, because we're all sick of injuries by now. But I think it's the little things that are in our control that drive me crazy most about this year. Because maybe we could have won all those 4 games, maybe we couldn't have. But the things that are within our control, the things that our organization can do, and the way they could develop or give these guys chances when someone goes down, like a Raheem Mostert for the whole year, or like a George Kittle who gets hurt for a little while, and Charlie Warner has to step up and be that guy who can run and maybe be a pass guy or whatever. The little things are what drives me crazy most about this team this year. What does that say? Talk all this shit.
That bulky, you know, that he always wanted all these injury players, and yet, I mean, the injuries haven't stopped since he's left.
No.
Yeah, so, I mean...
Okay,
I
so
don't
I'm
even
gonna
want to
ask
get
you,
into Kyle
Ken.
right now. So
Let's talk about your goat.
yes, let's talk about him. It's funny because before this game, I was thinking we had been hearing all this bad stuff about Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the same with him. It's been one story from one extreme to the next. So many different things. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And I was thinking, we haven't even heard from him
Mm-hmm.
since training camp. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't put him in front of the press, nothing, you know? And now all of a sudden, he's in front of the press twice since I was pondering my little tinfoil hat thing that I was pondering. And it's been interesting because I'm thinking maybe they kept him away from the press for a reason because he's actually getting up there and saying some things that probably other players wouldn't get up there and say.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to know what he would have said maybe 3-4 weeks ago, when things were worse, when he wasn't getting, the ball thrown to him, not even once, but was out there running routes on every single play, what would he have got up there and said?
I think Kindle also hurt Ayuk a lot in that way because not only did they both get picked in the first round that year, but Kindle got in trouble with a lot of people because he made those cryptic tweets, kind of like Debo did this weekend, where he was trolling the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of, when Kindle was saying one thing on Twitter and everybody was running with it, and the team and the organization was saying something completely other,
Right.
I think that was a driving force of why we didn't hear from Ayuk more himself, either online or on the podium, because they were trying to control the narrative and kind of, well, if you believe some people, like he broke curfew or whatever, he was pulling kind of an Antonio Brown kind of hissy fit, or was like Juju being more in love with himself and not putting in the work and whatever nonsense. But yeah, like I think they kept him out of the press for a reason, and I don't agree with it. I really don't agree with it that not only our coach was slamming him, but our GM then was either forced or had to back up Kyle in the press by like 2-3 weeks in, by finally coming out and saying the same things, that he was disappointed in him, that he was disappointed in his development, that they expect better, that they need to see better, that he's not getting game time because of this, this, and this. And I think John does that a lot, where Kyle goes off on a tangent and either John has to apologize, or he has to back him up, or he kind of has to deflect. Kind of like when they had the pressers together, like Kyle be on one page and then John would either be like sipping water or laughing and then try to move the conversation on real quick. So,
Kyle and John are like, like the devil and the angel that sit on your shoulder and it's like, no, don't do that. Yes, do that. Like John's the angel, like the good one, and then Kyle's like the devil one. Like
they're kind of like oil and water. Like they're both liquids, but they don't really exactly mix well together. One's very open and friendly and well educated and knows how to talk to the press and knows how to be charming because he worked for the press. So I think that helps a lot with John, because yeah, he had never been a general manager before, but he has that background where he knows how to talk. He knows how to present himself. He knows how to fool people with body language. He knows how to change things, and he's a openly, genuinely friendly person. And I think the main reason why we got Trent Williams was because of John Lynch, because Kyle Shanahan made no qualms about hiding how much he detested the football team,
right.
their owner, Brian Allen, the front office, everything that his father went through, what he went through, what McVay and Matt LaFleur and whoever was part of that whole organization there for that time with the RG3 thing and the Kirk Cousins thing. And I think he burnt a lot of those bridges. That's why I, with my tinfoil hat, as you so coined, truly believe that even if he had been a free agent, I don't think we would have gotten Kirk Cousins after that first year, which was the plan, solely because Washington did not want to give Kyle his boy back.
Right.
Like, I genuinely, even if Jimmy had never come in and had that start or we paid him, I don't think that was ever going to be an option. And I think maybe before this year, Kyle had made the inquiries about, prior to last year. Sorry, because he's been here 2 years. So I think before last year, Kyle has put out feelers for Trent Williams because that was one of his very favorite, like, everyone respects him, Hall of Famer kind of guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think why Lynch was instrumental in that particular instance is because Lynch has those diplomatic, friendly, open venues available to him, and he's likable and he's respected because of his own career, both in broadcasting and as a player. So when Trent Williams gave them no option, where he sat himself, where he said, you put my life in danger, I'm never going to play for you ever again because you didn't give me a heads up about this huge thing that could change my life. And he had, I think, both had just the Vikings and the Browns, who I think were the football team's first two options for trades, and offered a whole hell of a lot more than we did. I think the reason why that trade went through is because John's ability to be liked, and so I think in a lot of general ways, a lot of people want him to be the scapegoat or to get fired this offseason. I think John, in all his faults, actually well balances Kyle's more abashed, I'm going to lie to the press, I'm going to lie to the fans, I'm going to lie to the players, I'm going to bash the players in the press, I'm going to whatever. And I think John is so polar to how Kyle is that I think they balance each other well when they want to cooperate.
Yeah, when they're on the same side.
I think right now we're seeing more of those Super Bowl issues where they're kind of bashing heads and seeing things differently. And I think that's causing more strife within the fandom because it's becoming more obvious that John is not going to always step up and hide Kyle's insanity. Like Tomlin had to try to hide the Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell unhappiness with Big Ben. I think when it comes to those kind of high, strong personalities, you need that kind of calming presence who can kind of delegate and keep things open and clear and do damage control.
Yeah, they seem to do a great job of balancing each other out when they are seeing eye to eye and on the same side, but who knows if they are on the same side lately. And you brought up, them both coming, out to publicly say something about Ayuk. And one of the questions to Ayuk today made it seem like I didn't hear the interview, so I don't know, what was said for sure. But I guess Jimmy had some radio interview or whatnot. And they said that to me, it made it seem like Jimmy had said that when somebody, and they go, when somebody has success in their rookie year, like you, they say that to him, like Jimmy was talking about you, let's make it clear. They don't come out and give that same like effort their sophomore year or their second year, that they gave in their first year because they had the success already in their first year. And, and Ayuk's like, I wouldn't say that it was, not me giving the same effort or me not giving enough effort. You can say that, but I'm not going to say that. That's what he said, so it kind of seems that they're is a little tension between Ayuk and Jimmy. That's what it seems to me personally.
Um, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with, I think Brandon was one of the first few people who reached out to Trey and trained with Trey, and I think Jimmy hasn't forgotten the people who were so openly Trey Lance in the offseason and went in practice with him and said nice things about him and how happy they were that he joined the organization. So I believe it's partially a Kyle issue, which has now extended further in the coaching front office side. And I think it's a lot more of a Jimmy issue because Jimmy can't take full advantage of someone like Brandon Ayuk because his balls are not always accurate, or because he doesn't want to throw into certain things, or he doesn't see certain people because he locks onto people easily. And so I don't think, because Brandon, most of his success was after Jimmy got hurt. And then a lot more of his success happened when Jimmy got re-injured in the Seahawks game. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think with at least Debo and Kittle and McGlinchey and all the other vets who've either said something nice about Trey or Jimmy, they played with Jimmy. They have a camaraderie with Jimmy. They've had success with Jimmy. They're used to Jimmy's tendencies, so
Right.
they can play both sides. But Brandon had, I think, the Jets game. He had that one play where it was supposed to go to Kendrick Bourne, and Brandon got so excited he jumped in front of Kendrick Bourne. You remember? And he had that first big play. And then his breakout game was the next game at MetLife, which was the first Mullins start. So, yeah, I don't think they mesh well as quarterback and receiver. And I think that's been the more big problem than if Brandon broke curfew or Brandon hasn't put in the work the same way or whatever. Because nobody wants to be the diva receiver. Nobody wants to be the Odell Beckham Jr. of the world. They don't want to be cold, burnt, or broken, or they're overrated. They don't want to be injury prone. They don't want to be that labeled. Like, because even if, like Beckham, it doesn't work out with your first organization or your second organization, yeah, you don't have to get along. Yeah, some guys get complacent. But I think that also makes it harder for you to find that next gig, that makes it harder for you to have that next opportunity to make money. That makes you be paid less money because you're a headache, you're this, you're someone who has constantly asked about in the pressers, and people get sick of people like that, you know? They hate the distractions. They hate that it'll become a huge story in the media where so-and-so quarterback can't get along because his wide receiver is a diva and he's making himself more important than the team and he wants his touches and blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants those negative labels. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think just fundamentally there is a disconnect between Jimmy and Brandon for some reason because they never really had that to begin with.
Yeah, and in Ayuk's presser after the game, he had mentioned that when somebody asked him about, what he's been doing or whatever in the last couple of weeks to get to the point where he's at now, and he said, I can only control the things I can control.
Yeah,
and like he can't throw himself the ball. He can only get open. He can only run routes. He can only do what he's told to do. If Jimmy's not throwing him the ball, I mean, that sounds like more of a Jimmy issue than a Ayuk issue.
Well, wasn't that one of the storylines that a lot of people were saying in the Philly game? Like the two main things that George was asked to do was do that one decoy route over and over and over again, or be essentially a 6th or 7th offensive lineman helping with Juice to block on the right side. Those were his two main things.
Mm-hmm.
To either be decoy or to be offensive lineman. And I think because Brandon is one of the better run blocking receivers, which I and a few other people were tweeting about today, or I retweeted someone else's post about it. I think it's just been easier to have him out on the field, have him run a few routes or the deeper routes, which Jimmy's not going to throw to say, okay, well, we're not punishing him. He's out there. He's running these routes. You can see him out on the field, right? Or they're using him to block for the running back.
60 yards down the field where Jimmy can't throw.
Yes. Or they use him as a running blocker, which we are slowly missing right now, or they use him as a decoy because, well, okay, we're throwing to him just enough to say, well, we haven't completely eliminated him, so you still have to take him seriously, but he's really not going to get the ball. Which is why I cannot tell you, my jaw dropped on that 2-point conversion. Not because I didn't think that Brandon could do it or get the separation like everyone else is saying that he can't get separation all of a sudden. I don't think you kind of unlearn that, but I was just shocked that that's who they actually went to. Like that was the read in the end zone. Like I didn't expect that. And I think if any bad or any good has come out of all this bad press for your GOAT, I think that helped because I don't think he was covered or he would have been as covered in the end zone for that 2-point conversion because it's been such a controversy that the team, the quarterback, the coach, the GM have all badmouthed him this year.
Yeah. 2 things I want to touch on before we wrap up my GOAT with a nice little bow and send him on to Arizona. He had said that, well, 3 things, but they kind of all go together. So they had asked him if, like, who has any of the players or coaches, like reached out and like helped him through this, this trauma or whatever he's been going through. I don't know what he's been going through, but this whole ordeal he's been going through, has anybody been there for him? And he says a lot of players have. He said Juice has because that's his locker mate or whatever. So that he's been there for, that he's been there for him throughout the whole thing. And then he said that during the bye week, a lot of the coaches, got with the players to assess where they're at and, whatever they do during the bye week, and so he said at that time, him and Kyle had words, is how he put it. And he left it at that, right? And then, so a couple questions later, somebody says, so, like specify without getting too into it, you and Kyle had words, what is that? And he says, we just had some words. And he just kind of like, just some words, or something like that, but he wouldn't go into detail. So the first thing that I took from that was you have been putting this guy pretty much, what we call Shanahan's doghouse. Putting this guy in your doghouse this whole start of the season, right? You first come out and you say it's because he was injured. That was the first couple of weeks. And then he's not, where we want him to be. He's not doing what he needs to do. And then you come out, oh, he's almost to that point where he was last year, but he's not quite to that point. Like you're telling a guy in his sophomore, his second year, you're not quite what you were as a rookie when you didn't know shit, but you're almost to that point, right?
And you didn't have a mini camp or off season. Or your starting quarterback.
And yet now Ayuk's coming out and saying that finally, during the bye week, Kyle reached out and they had words.
Good for him.
This is almost week 9 now. We had by what, week 6, 7?
We had it.
One of those.
We went on a 3-game losing streak, but then we had the bye, and then we had
Chicago.
Colts loss, and then we had Chicago. So
Okay.
yeah.
So it took all those weeks for Kyle Shanahan to have words with Ayuk, and whatever Ayuk said it helped, whatever those words were. I'm sure they didn't start off pretty friendly from what it sounds like. But whatever it did, whatever happened, it eventually helped. And since then, we have seen Ayuk on the field getting used, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can go out into the media and into wherever else and talk all this shit about the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes you 6 weeks to reach out to him and to fix whatever the hell the problem is.
Oh, you're not gonna like my thoughts on that, but I think a lot of that had to do with Trent Sherfield not playing, and I think that had a lot to do with Jawan Jennings not really having chemistry with either Lance or Jimmy specifically. So neither one of them has really kind of taken over as a receiver besides Devo. And Snu, for all his flaws, because Debo and Brandon both pushed for him to be on this roster, and so did Kyle. I think the main reason why Ayuk is getting game time now is because Snu has had a lot of drops, and I think Kyle is fearful of Debo getting hurt or getting too many snaps.
Which he is.
So I think with George out, with Juice maybe not being as young as he was a couple of years ago, I think Kyle's kind of had his bend, don't break kind of thing pushed to the limit, and he kind of has to make nice with Brandon right now because he has no other options. Or options the fan base will take, because the free Ayuk thing has been there since I think either the Packer game or the Seattle game, where it really went into overdrive with the fan base and him being constantly harassed by the press about why isn't Ayuk being played more.
And it's funny that, John brings up, Sherfield being a pawn, because I just said that the other day, like, where's Sherfield been? All we heard about, and, got us all excited for this guy. You hyped him up all training camp, all preseason, Sherfield, he's beating out Ayuk and he's the number 2 now. Where is he? I haven't even heard the guy's name in weeks.
I think they used him for like a play or two just to say he's playing, but they don't really.
But that's the guy that beat out Brandon?
Him to be the guy or really want to give him a chance. I don't know. This year, like, I went into this year hopeful, and I went into this year thanking my lucky stars I'm not a Giant fan, because the Giants are just one big hot mess, and I used to feel bad for my father because this year, especially, they broadcasted who they wanted in the draft so much that everyone knew Devontae was their guy. That's who they wanted. That's who they wanted to draft. They don't pull a Kyle. They don't try to hide or lie or let the press take off with whatever. The Maras, for all their faults, just don't sugarcoat or hide, right? So I think for them, that bit them in their ass, because the Cowboys went and traded with the Eagles, and the Eagles took their guy. Then the Giants were kind of forced to trade back. So in that respect, I'd be grateful that our organization isn't that transparent, or they make all these things easy for people to read them. But I think the way things have been going, the way that Kyle only has the one winning season, the way that he's kind of been really angry last year, because I think a lot of us can agree that he was really angry last year, where everyone was saying Kyle doesn't win, Jimmy wins, and they kept pointing out that ridiculous stat of his where it
Jimmy
was
wins.
Jimmy has this record, Kyle has this record without Jimmy. You remember that was like the storyline every week, no matter what happened. Even us losing our stadium wasn't the story. It wasn't us being stuck in Arizona or beating Arizona in Arizona as the away team. It wasn't any of those things. Every week it was Kyle doesn't win without Jimmy. You have to hope Jimmy was there. You have to hope that Jimmy stays healthy this year. That
They're still saying that same thing.
That the definition of insanity. You keep hoping for a different result and wishing for the same thing, and it's never going to happen.
Yes.
Um,
And they're making me insane, let me tell you.
You're not the only one. But yeah, I think that Kyle Shanahan has had to come to a few hard truths this year, and making peace with Brandon was one of them. Now, I would hope that we don't re-injure the guys that are coming off injury. And I hope to God that we dial Debo back a little bit, not because of drops or to punish him in any way, but because I would not want him to get broken, because he's been mostly our offense this year. Would I like to see Ayuk get a big thing? Yeah, I love that he had the 2-point conversion. I love he had the other really big catch in that game against the Bears, but there's no protecting Kyle and John and what's going on right now. Like, I love all these people who are saying, "Oh, this, and this, and this, and this, and this," and I'm like, we don't have to see eye to eye, but I don't think anyone knows what's going on in that organization, even if you are in that organization, because I think it's very fluid, and I think it keeps changing, and I think people get in trouble for certain things, and other people don't, and I think it's very unbalanced. So yeah, I'm proud of Brandon. I'm glad he stepped up for himself. I'm glad he spoke up for himself. I'm glad he didn't let his quarterback and coach throw him under the bus when he finally got a podium, and he didn't drag them, which I think he was very much in his favor that he could have done. And I'm proud of that. No matter what, he keeps coming out. He keeps playing. He doesn't look like he's just giving up on routes when they do show footage of him being wide open on Twitter.
Which he could, because he knows the ball's not going to come to him, so he could give up on the route,
If he showed that where he would take off and he gave up on his routes, that would justify the narrative on him. But yeah, so he stepped up. He made his two things. He doesn't seem to be coming off like a Cam Newton where he's really in love with himself.
Right.
I'm proud of him. That shows a lot of growth. That shows that you and fans like you who made them their personal goats were correct in buying into him and saying that this is someone that I'm proud to say I'm a fan of.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate that it took Kyle that long, obviously, but I am glad that it finally did happen. And after all that, it was Grant that asked Brandon, can Kyle's tone be harsh in the way that he criticizes, or the way, pretty much he talks to you if you're in the doghouse, and Brandon said, no, we could have expected that Pettis would have sat up there and said yes, and that's where I think that we separate the two.
Can we get John to clarify what the hell he's saying right now? I'm afraid to see what happens and what gets out in the off season. Kyle still wants to be coach. So are you saying that you buy that whole storyline that Kyle's tanking the year because he wants out of San Francisco? Because that whole thing, I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole, but I know a lot of people believe that right now, that he's purposely tanking because he wants to force their hand. But if Jimmy's on his last year, right, and he's sick of the Jimmy storyline about Jimmy wins, then why would he want to leave when Jed supposedly loves him and Jimmy's going to be gone? I don't get that. Do you get that?
Nope. And I'm not talking about Shanahan anymore. I had all my Shanahan talk last week. Yeah, so Brandon had said, no, he doesn't, it's not too harsh, and he says that he's been told that he has trust issues. And they're like, trust issues, and he says, not just in football, he said like in his life, period, in his everyday life, he has trust issues, and that the coaches coming and talking to him and Kyle, and the other coaches or whatever, that like he says, they just want me to believe them and have faith in them, that they want what's best for me, and that they're they have, like, they got my back, and blah blah blah. And so it was kind of, obviously, like, I'm Ayuk's number one fan, but it was nice to see, one, that he stood up for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Two, that he's not going to let, just whoever, whether it be his quarterback or not,
Mm-hmm.
just open their mouth spreading false narratives.
Mm-hmm.
And three, that he is man enough to stand up there and say, I have trust issues, that this is something I have in, not just in football, but in my life, and something that I am working with, and, something that he's aware of. And, hopefully that with that, and that with Kyle finally talking to him and all the coaches, and the whole thing just makes the rest of this season, great for the kid. Because I feel so bad for what he's been through up into the bye week. And like he said, he went into, after the bye week, after having all those conversations, that it's like starting a new season for him from the bye week on out to the end of the year. He can't change what happened in the first, whatever, 6 weeks. He can only now, after having talked and done all this, he can only now go out to the field, perform, do what he has to do, and make the best of the next, rest of the season. And I think, that whether you're a fan of the guy or not, that's all that we can hope, is for somebody that we drafted that high, somebody that has so much potential, is that he didn't break like Pettis would have, that he actually rose to the challenge and is doing what he has to do, whatever that may be, but we see it's working because we've seen him on the field since, getting that targets, getting, stuff done. And hopefully it just gets better from here on out.
See, I wouldn't compare it to Pettis. If I were to compare Brandon to anybody, I hate to do it too, because you know how much I don't like this player. But I would compare it to the Solomon Thomas of it all, because I think for all his faults, Solomon was forced to do something that he wasn't comfortable with, but he did, because he was trying to prove that he was worth being the third overall pick, was it, right? Because we traded back with Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was trying to prove that he deserved to be the third overall pick, and I think he was trying to do whatever they asked of him. And the main thing I remember about Solomon was he never badmouthed anybody. He never complained about being asked to change his weight, his position, his whatever. I mean, towards the end of it all, there were a few pressers where he was like, I'm more comfortable in the middle. I'm more comfortable at D-tackle. I'm happy to finally be able to play inside again. And then the very next week, he'd be back out on the edge, and then he'd be struggling again. But I think Brandon, so far this year, has been more like Solomon Thomas, where the coach, the front office, the quarterback, the people who should be propping him up or should be protecting him or should be deflecting these storylines have been trashing on him and blaming the player instead of themselves. And I think this year in particular it's gotten a little out of hand because they've been trying to avoid the quarterback controversy. They've been trying to avoid the injuries to Raheem. They've been trying to deflect the narrative that we all heard in the offseason with Kyle saw Justin Fields. And right before he even got to Dakota, he was supposedly on the plane drawing up all these plays for Trey Lance. And then when Trey finally gets in for the Detroit game, you remember they had all those non-runs that would go right up the middle and he gets stuffed right away. And we all thought Trey was going to get broken in half, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Or when he got in for the Seahawks game, they looked ill-prepared, even though they spent the entire offseason saying, well, we still love Jimmy, we still believe in Jimmy, Jimmy thinks that he can get us to the Super Bowl. But the reason we gave up all this capital was because Jimmy can't stay healthy, and we made that known to Jimmy. You know, that whole narrative. I think Brandon, for like John, is a huge scapegoat for this organization, or has been. Like a Solomon Thomas, where things just went a certain way. You know, he missed that first big pass from Trey Lance in preseason, and I think it gave them an easy distraction narrative to hide this, and this, or avoid this, and this by blowing that up, that one play, and turning that into a narrative like the Mac Jones thing with the draft pick, where the team, the organization could hide behind this narrative and push this narrative to hide everything else they don't want to come out or don't want to talk about or aren't comfortable with or aren't ready to do. So I really am proud of Brandon Ayuk because it takes a big person to stomach that from his team, from the fans, from teammates, and to speak up for yourself, to fight for yourself, to not sully yourself by falling down to the pettiness or the argumentative or the dragging or trash talking, to still do your job, to still do your thing, keep who you are as a core person, and to change what was dealt to you. I think what hurt Pettis, what hurt Solomon Thomas was they didn't have that. They didn't have that missing thing where they could speak up or felt comfortable speaking up, or they took the negative way too personally and they let that mess with their brain. I think that yes, Spoon and Thomas and Pettis all were missing that one thing that Brandon has shown to have, which is that gumption to say, I know who I am, I'm comfortable with who I am, I'm going to fight for who I am, and I'm not going to let even what is a very serious thing that a lot of people struggle with, like mental health. Severe trust issues is a huge thing.
Yeah.
To not dictate his life or his career, because this is his career. This is whether he works out for us as an organization or not. This is gonna affect his whole life. This is gonna affect how his career goes, how people perceive him, and so for him to fight back against what could pigeonhole you or could destroy you as a person, to stand up for yourself, that should be commended. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's a huge thing.
Yeah. And I completely agree because we have seen it happen, like you said, so many times before, not even just with this organization, right? You know, like
that what was it, was it 2019? It was right after the Super Bowl went, so it was one of the years right afterwards. You remember there was that storyline from the Eagles where I think one of our offensive linemen was all suited up to play, and he pulled himself out last minute, right? And he said he had a severe panic attack. Like he couldn't play a game without panicking his entire career, and he would have this constant thing where he would be throwing up, he'd have shaking hands or whatever, and he said he literally had to pull himself out because of mental health. And he got roasted alive for it, and it was like, well, how dare athletes be paid all this money and they can't perform? Like, they can't be human too.
And I think, up until, not too long ago, that has been something that was so quiet in the NFL. And I think in, professional sports in general is, that you just hide your emotions, you hide your feelings, you show up and you grind. You're a football player. How dare you have
You're making
feelings?
more money
And,
than I will ever earn in my career. 1 year, you better step up if we put all this investment into you. Yeah, I know that mentality.
like what? Yeah, like I don't want to get too much into it because it's just going to go into a whole new thing. But
plain and simple, we're very proud of Brandon Ayuk.
yeah,
Even if it's
because
just a 2-woman army, we are very proud of Brandon Ayuk standing up for himself.
yes, the end. Wrap my goat up with a bow and have him kick Arizona's ass now. Score predictions.
Jesse put me on the spot on Tuesday when I called in, so I'm gonna stay with the same score. I don't believe in it because, quite honestly, I don't trust Robbie. But and maybe it because it didn't get up that high last time. So, but I'm gonna go with 24-21 as my final score prediction.
Us. We're winning.
Can Jimmy win 2 in a row?
All he does is win.
You know what? Just because I love Talanoa, I'm going to go with Niners win this game.
And you say 24-21?
Yes.
I'm going to go with... Mm-hmm. Now, although the Niners did win, that one win doesn't sway me enough to change the fact that they've lost so many games at home. And this is now a home game. So until they win at home
she puts me on.
And Trey's starting, then, but seriously, even just from what we've seen from backup quarterbacks showing up to a game and kicking the team's ass because the team doesn't know what to prepare for, And I mean, Arizona is not no slump team. The players that are there healthy, they're not like shitty players, like they have a good team. They're 7-1 for a reason,
Can I just say how much I hated that the Packers were the first team to beat them? My brother has been on the most obnoxious Titletown USA, this is what Packers do, 13-time champion nonsense all week long because of that. Oh, it's so aggravating. And then, I actually pointed out the whole how we were the only team to ever keep them down to 17 points this year. And he completely goes and blasts apart and trashes on Trey and everything else and blah, blah, blah. But, oh, I hate that it was the Packers. I wish it could have been anyone but the Packers.
Well, the Packers are a whole mess right now. I'm going to go 28-31 Arizona.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for you, who do you think it starts? Colt or Kyler, or do you think Kyler starts? And if they get a comfortable lead, maybe they pull him out and let Colt finish the game.
I could see that happening. I think it's going to take a lot to keep Kyler out of that game. And if he does play, that would be the smart thing if they did, get a lead to pull him. But who knows how they're going to do that. But
well, I think a lot of these guys are like a George Kittle or like an RG3 who even when injured, the teams really have to have the gumption to be like, no, we're looking out for you. We're looking out for ourselves. We're going to sit you so you don't cost yourself and us the long-term health.
Right.
So, like I said, because, yeah, Jimmy has had, I think, a few games where he scored right away. But predominantly, we have suffered in the first half and first quarter with Jimmy as the starter. And people can drag Trey all they want, but if I remember things correctly from the last Arizona game, we got down into the end zone a lot.
Yeah, Trey had no problem moving that team up and down the field.
The major issue, like I brought up on Jesse's show, the previous time I called in, was that we had just brought Sly in that week, and we barely used Joey Sly. We had overused Mitch Wisnowski the week before, and my inquiry had been because the Seahawks game in 2019, you remember week 10, where we lost in overtime because we trusted the replacement kicker?
Yes, I remember.
My Big Mike moment was that I thought Kyle and the organization had PTSD, so they had brought in a kicker because, Robbie had gotten hurt in pre-warm-ups, so you really can't bring in a kicker in pre-warm-ups. Like, they did the best they could in the Packer game. I think they went a bit too much on field goals in the Packer game, and I think that when we had gotten the kicker, they overcorrected and barely wanted to use him that very first week afterwards. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, we've struggled in the beginning of games a lot, and it's been either the first half has been bad, or the first quarter, or it took us deep within the third quarter, or the second half to have that one big play to kind of change things around, or to get us back into it, or to even hope for a tied game at half. So, if he's healthy enough, I would hope Cliff Kingsbury is smart enough to sit him, just in general. But if they start off hot the way they can, I mean, like, anyway, I'm not going to take Colt McCoy lightly. I mean, what he did, like I said before, was a big thing. You can say that the Seahawks defense wasn't good. You can say that they played down to the competition, or they didn't take him seriously. And all those things can be true, but these guys are athletes for a reason. They're backups for a reason. They have legitimate starts for a reason. So,
and we have like no secondary,
and
Jimmy Ward's out, Park's out,
I think what makes the
Overett.
hard is because AJ Green's out because of COVID, right? So that takes out one other weapons. Deandre Hopkins, like we said before, is rumored to be injured, but we don't know if he's going to be playing. But more likely, he's going to play. We just don't know how much. Kyler is rumored to either be in or be out, or we don't know how severe it is. So, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not going to shit talk and say that I knew, because I really don't know. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think no matter who the quarterback is, I'm not thinking we're just gonna go in there and the rest of the Arizona team's not gonna show up to play,
You know what does concern me though? And I know you like him. I know a lot of us love him. What does concern me is that there are not going to be enough people to help out Fred Warner in the middle of the field. I think that is the biggest concern, because they have enough running backs, they have enough just offensive weapons as a team that scares me because we've seen Fred this year in Detroit where he's trying to do too much because Dre Greenlaw blew up his gaps and wasn't playing gap discipline and was going for the big plays, and that left Fred Warner trying to do too much, and then that created big holes in the middle and everyone not being where they're supposed to be, which is why the big plays happened. I think that happened a lot last week because the same thing. Aziz is hurt, Dre's still out, so Fred was trying to do too much. I think that's one of Fred Warner's biggest weaknesses, that he tries to do too much when not everything else is covered. So that's my biggest concern, besides who comes in, who might get hurt. The middle of the field, that big playing soft defense, and the running game are my two biggest concerns. Because we've been very wishy-washy about either pushing the running back game or running game in general, and we either have or haven't, or we give up on it too easy. So those are my two big issues or areas of concern. What are yours?
So like Fred Warner stands right here. Anything around him in this general direction are my concerns on the defense right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Behind him is all hurt. So I'm not even sure who we have filling in at all these places, honestly.
I know Talanoa is still in for Tart. I know there's been talk that either Jimmy Ward will be playing or that one of the others might be coming in. And quite honestly, I don't know where Shark and the rest of them stand on health or anything, so.
And then, I mean, the defensive line, have they been as great as we thought they were going to be?
You know what the funny part is about that?
I mean, Bosa is here. Where I don't know where
He's not
everybody
an
else
entire
is.
defensive line, yeah. So, yeah, the funny part is everyone's been hating on Kinlaw too because of the knee drainage and the knee issues and needing the knee surgery. But as soon as he wasn't an option and DJ Jones got, I think, re-injured or something, the inside of that line's been trash lately. Like, I wanted to believe so many people when they said that Hurst and Key and Sosa and all these people that we were bringing in were going to help out. But it's
I mean, there's a reason their teams didn't want him.
It has been highly inconsistent, and with and I say again, the injuries to linebacker, that makes it very difficult because there's Fred, and I don't really know who would be playing in this game. There's talk Aziz is back. There's talk that Greenlaw's doing drills on the sideline.
Yes, Shanahan said today Greenlaw it's not going to be back.
But the front of that defense, the back of that defense, and the middle, I don't know. So, yeah, in general, that scares me, and the running situation scares me.
I should have said, like, here's Fred Warner, here's Bosa, and then everything else around, you know. but I mean, you got the point.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, so whether it's Kyler or it's McCoy or it's Joe Schmo, I mean, if you can just freely throw wherever the hell you want, it's going to make for a long day. And is our offense going to do enough to be able to put up points if Arizona's putting up points to keep up? I don't know, because after those first scripted plays run out in the first, the first drive, we don't see the offense again until the second half. So
yeah, but here's the thing. Hasty's our healthiest running back right now, right?
Yeah, so we go to him on every third down.
And Elijah has the rib injury. You just don't know how damaged those things are, how he'll put through the pain. You don't know if he'll be targeted in his ribs because they know he's injured in his ribs.
Right.
So there's that. There's Jeff Wilson coming off that huge. It was the Liz Frank, right? He stood up and he damaged his foot. Or that's what they were saying in the off season. He stepped up in the locker room and got hurt.
Was that him?
Yeah.
I can't keep up. There's so many freaking injuries.
So either way, he's coming off injury, so you don't know how healthy or game ready he'll be. So there's like difference between ready and game ready. I think Marshawn Lynch proved that in 2019 because even with all the training he did, he didn't look game ready because he had been out and then he was doing that quick time
that's what happens when you get people off the couch. Exactly or that.
So yeah, I think our healthiest besides Sermon, who we covered, and I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole again because it's just going to get me upset. And I'm happy to be on your pod again. I think Casey is our healthiest option. So those are my two areas of concern.
Yeah, and up until the game that Hasty came back from injury, I was a huge Hasty supporter. But I mean, we haven't seen much from Hasty, and Kyle wants to go to him on this 3rd and 14, and then the next 3rd and 30, and then the next 3rd and 12, and then the next 3rd and 9. It's like none of them were successful, but let's keep doing it.
Because I'm from my home state and because I put up with a really whiny Giants fan, it's going to piss people off so badly. There have been games this year, and I'm going to get trolled for this so badly, but some of the way that he's used certain players or some of the play calls he's decided on some of those long downs, because there have been such long 3rd downs that John's pointing out, it really reminds me of Jason Garrett. I hate to say it, but it really, 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 really reminds me of how Jason Garrett calls games for not only Cowboys, but now the Giants, where they either play for the down on those really long 3rd downs, or they play within 3 to 4 yards of the down, and that's the way it's drawn up, and they hope to God the player can make up the difference in yak. And so, yeah, for me, and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with a lot of people for this, that has been a major gripe of mine with Kyle Shanahan, because his play calling on 3rd down specifically has reminded me a lot of Jason Garrett.
And yeah, up until, like in 2019 vibes, they were so great on 3rd down, right?
Yeah.
But Jimmy, that's the only thing he was great at was 3rd down. Oh, he's money on 3rd down. So
you remember how many
now we don't even have that.
You remember how many times we had to suffer and hear why Jimmy stole 2019 because of the 2 3rd and 16s from the Rams game? How many times was that the game that was pointed out that Jimmy was the reason why we got into the playoffs? And now it's just like, we can only hope that they get close enough to the 50 where it's not going to be such a detriment when Mitch kicks off and they give them a short field. John, you suck for that comment, by the way, because now I'm really trying hard not to laugh because you mentioned Coach Clapp and the butt slapping. It's true.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with some good butt slapping, but I mean, that's for another podcast, John. We can't have that on here. This is sports talk. This isn't, Peachy's, what's that thing now? What is it? The thing that you got to pay for?
Patreon.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to
Patreon after dark. My YouTube channel is just little, but I don't need to get torn down already, John. Thanks. Peachy's
Plus,
Patreon, yes.
you were in Jesse's chat, so that shocked me that he said that lingers, and if you get 3 strikes, you could be like Jesse, where you lose your channel completely. So I don't know how that works because I don't have my own pod, but that was scary that they can hold those strikes for however long they want, and once you hit the 3, even if it's not your fault, like just it wasn't Jesse's fault. Someone came on his show, did something inappropriate that got him flagged and got him to lose all the work that him and his friends have put into that channel and all their videos. Yeah, that was shocking that happened.
Yeah, and then for YouTube, like they put in, a thing to fight it or whatever, and YouTube still hasn't even responded.
No.
Like that's these guys' livelihood. Like they're running this channel to put food on the table for their families, and YouTube's just like, oh, whatever, we're not going to answer you. Like we're too busy for y'all.
Some people are monetized. Some people accept money. Some
I'm
people
saying
have
that
enough
channel specifically.
Yeah. But it's crazy because maybe it's just me because I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube because I need escapes a lot. I've heard all these things about weird people on YouTube who are famous YouTubers who have a zillion chances and who can do some really disgusting, putrid, I mean, even blackface and all those things that we all demolish and hate people for, or completely shut people out of our lives and try to pretend like we never took an interest in them for that. Get all these chances, but someone like Jesse, he gets kind of screwed for somebody else's mistake. So yeah, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Yes, make sure you go subscribe. They got a new channel, Last Second Sports. They're great guys over there.
There's a Lions and a Cowboys fan, and there's Jesse.
Broncos.
Yeah, Broncos fan. Sorry, I forgot the last one.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Final thoughts, and before we close out, we're going to do a special shout out that I'll let you take care of.
Okay, so there's someone who Peachy had on her second very episode of Girls Night, brought to you by Wayne Brazy and Nitty Gritty Diners. Please go check out both of those links if you like Crystal or you want to support the channel. Her name is Gina, and we love her. She has a podcast of her own. It's every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The majority of the Niner listeners, because she covers all Bay Area sports, are predominantly from Twitter. So she has it usually up on her Spaces if Spaces doesn't give her an issue. And she takes in callers and allows callers to speak on her podcast that way. She also has a separate chat from Spreaker.com. That's SPREAKER.com. She's more than happy to talk you through it if you would like to just join the chat. It's a separate venue. It's also linked in her bio on repping the sports 415, I believe is her hashtag.
Repping the Bay 415, I believe.
Yes. Okay. So the speakers are on Twitter. The chat is a separate venue. And if you never catch it live, she has everything on the overall brand that she's a part of called IE Radio that can be found on YouTube. And Gina is our spotlight of the week, and we are highlighting her podcast because it is a kick-ass female who covers not only the San Francisco 49ers, but she covers the Warriors. She covers all Bay Area sports, so please give her a follow. She has her page. She has her other Twitter page, which is repping the NorCal Sports. I gave you the hash earlier. I don't remember what it is.
Repping the NorCal IE.
IE, yeah. So she has the two Twitters. She has a separate chat, separate listeners, and if you don't want to, or because you're not off at those times, you can always catch her show with the others on IE Radio on YouTube the day after, or the day after that they usually upload. So
IE Sports Radio, right?
no, it's just IE Radio.
Radio, okay.
Mm-hmm. So please go check out Gina. We love her, and she is awesome. And we're hoping when Crystal has her next girls' night that Gina is part of it.
Yes, make sure you go follow her. She's doing great things, and she's gonna set the world on fire with the rest of us. So make sure you get over there and support her, show her some love.
And Taryn has also been on her pod because he called in, and it was quite enjoyable to listen. So giving some love to your co-host who is absent today.
Yeah, he's getting an F on his report card. Truancy. On vacation. So yeah, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. My final thoughts are injuries suck. I am thankful I do not listen to pressers anymore because it is just an unwanted nonsense or nuisance. But I am grateful for the silver linings that probably drive John crazy most about me. So I am grateful that despite all the injuries that Talanoa is playing, and my dearest hope is that we get to see more of the rest of the rookie class this year, injury or no injury.
Yes, please. And yeah, Hafenga, I'm super excited, and I'm glad he's getting his, playing time. And I don't wish injury on anybody, and I hate to see somebody lose their job because of injury, but at the end of the day, I'm hoping he plays his ass off and he doesn't give that job back to Tart.
Same. Cannot agree with you more on that.
No, we're not redshirting, John. I mean, if we had like the all-star team, like the best team that they've ever seen in the NFL, okay, then you can start redshirting players. Like until then, I mean, you're playing players that aren't better than the players you're redshirting.
We're not the Saints defense. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. We don't have a Cam Jordan and a Marcus Davenport and a Garner Johnson and all these other big-time athletes that get respect and are names that people constantly praise and wish that were on their teams. We don't have the health. We don't have the name recognition. We don't have the stability. And we have injuries throughout the defense. So she and I were talking about this before we went live. It's insanely frustrating because we keep bringing in the Josh Normans of the world to this organization to make up for the injuries. And instead of giving these rookies the opportunity because someone has gotten injured or will miss a few weeks, instead of letting them play, we're losing with backup veterans, and it frustrates us as fans because we know there's another option that's within our control, and we're not taking it simply because they have the designation of being new to the league this year. So it's not like we're saying start the young guys over the vets that are healthy and are playing well and are winning. We're just saying stop bringing in vets who nobody's had on their roster, who haven't had the wear and tear and are in shape enough to be ready for game day to fill in when we have someone go down. We're not wishing for injury. We're not saying we're hoping for more injuries for these guys to start. We're just saying stop looking elsewhere to fill in for what we have.
Stop digging in your couch cushions to find some pennies that have fuzz all over them when you have a whole penny jar sitting right there that you can get it from.
And yeah, no, I'm not going there again. I agree with Mariah that's my last comment on it.
What's this? It's 1:30. That memory of yours is, I mean, because she's a librarian, okay? That's why. You can remember stuff when you're a librarian, John. Closing thoughts before, I lose all my 97 subscribers that I have and Twitter throws me away.
You know what? That's probably impossible because you are like the biggest supporter of everybody. Like I don't think there's a single pod that I've ever tried out that you have not been like the biggest cheerleader in the chat for. And the longest tenured fan of every single chat in the world. Like if there's a pod, everybody, the first thing they come out of their mouth is like, Mariah has been here from day one. She always supports the channel. So unless people want to be really cruel, I don't think I will cost you your 94 subscribers. And if
no, you're not going to cost them. I'm going to cost
I
them.
will go kick some people's asses because there's enough Jersey in me that will go harass some people very unkindly.
And I think, my closing thoughts will stick it to that is that it takes no time out of your day to be supportive of other people that are trying to grind and do things, that we're all passionate about. And I say this all the time. I work, in a field that is mainly men. And so I get this in my regular job as well, so my whole thing is I'm never in competition with nobody. The day that you feel that you have to be in competition with me is the day I don't need you in my life anymore. Because I'm being for real, because
I know
I'm only here to support you, and we can walk next to each other. I will help you. I will give you the shirt off my back. But the day that you feel that you have to compete or you have to, do something to mess that up, that's it.
That's the way it should be.
I try to give my love and support to everybody. And at the end of the day, I just wish that we could all do that, because it's not taking you any time. It's not taking you you're not getting any bad will, any bad nothing, juju, whatever you believe in, like, just be kind. There's enough negative shit in everything that people are going through out there. I posted the other day on Twitter, and of course, there's people on Twitter, but don't forget to check on your strong friends, because being the strong friend most of the time, we take on the weight of the world. And there's a lot of days that I have to carry the weight of so many other people, that the things I have going on in my own life, I don't have room to carry it, because everybody else is already taking up all this space, So just don't forget to check on the people that have been there for you, the people that might seem like they have it all together, because everybody struggles. Everybody needs somebody sometime. And you never know when you just saying, hey, are you okay? Hey, do you need something? I'm here. Hey, if you need me, I'm an ear. It takes nothing, and you, at the end of the day, could save somebody's life. And you never know when somebody needs that, we've been through a pandemic, and we've been through a lot of rough times. People, a lot of bad shit is going on out there. And why do we need to add to it? We don't. Like, I don't want to see the people that I care about, the people that I'm in this community with, struggling. Why would I want that? So, just try to build each other up a little. It doesn't take, like, I'm a smart ass. I'm the first one to run my mouth in the chat. I'm the first one to talk shit to somebody if you want to talk shit on my girls or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I have a heart of gold, and I will give you, like I said, the shirt off my back. And
You are definitely a
you
guardian
just
angel, because I can attest to that. Because Tuesday, I was watching John's show live as always because I made a promise to him. And as soon as they logged off, I went back to Jesse's show because, like I said, Jesse's been a really good guy. And he stayed up because that's not an easy thing, staying up to midnight or 1 a.m. on the East Coast when you have a full-time job. So I really appreciate he stayed up. And when I was calling back in and then it got off for him to do final thoughts, I had seen that you had my back when all the guys were doing the whole, does she have a number? Is she single? Does she have a Twitter? Does she have this? Does she have that? And you know what? You may have some sass, which is not a bad thing, but you also can use it as a very nice weapon to defend those who you care for. And I think that's your main point. It's you don't have to be like me. You don't have to be someone who is known mostly for popping people up and being the nice person. You can have sass. You can be who you are. Be proud of that while still having a kind heart and reaching out. So it really does not hurt to do it. We were joking about this before we went live. I thought I've been driving people crazy with it, but you know what? The crazy part is, Silverado Kev went through what he went through about I think a month ago, and I had just, randomly one day I saw a post of his, and I made a thank you post just with every thing that I do, and he told me how much it meant to him, and then everybody found out that he had gone through what he was going through, and then everyone was sending him prayers and kind of thoughts and checking up on him. I had no idea previous to that. Like there have been times where I've known in advance someone's going through something, and you've been on the receiving end of those DMs where I've asked, without giving out any details, please go check up on this person or send them some good vibes or some love, and you've seen those posts. But yeah, you never know. So for me, 2020 has sucked. I know it's kind of taboo to say it, especially as a Niner fan. But for me, one of the best parts about 2020 was everything I received from nothing but Niners. I got a community, I got friends, I got family, I got something that I was sorely lacking for a great deal of my life. Understanding and welcomeness. And so, yeah, I can be a bit obnoxious to some with it, but that's the main reason why I do it. And it really, I mean, it's a bit insulting when people say it's just you saying kind words, because it's really not that. It's something deeper, and it means something to you. It means something to the people who receive grace and strength and generally need that kind of positivity, because I think all of us, no matter what we see, no matter what you agree with us or not, and you can think we're both two crazy ladies who just love sports and are talking out of our ass.
and we are, but
uh, but at the end of the day, it helps. It helps to have those people who break up the monotony and the toxicity that can be Niners Twitter. So I started a new thing this month, and like I told Miriah, I was going to be late doing it. But I started something for November. I've been through a few health scares. It is now my 13th year with diabetes, and a couple of years ago, I was in a diabetic coma and I almost died. And since then, I've decided, especially since what I was gifted by this community, to give back. So every day of Thanksgiving, I'm going to be doing shout outs for different things that I've been grateful for the last year and some change, because like what happened with Kev, you really never know. And there's this taboo where everyone says you can reach out, and you need somebody. We've all seen the post where it says suicide prevention. If you need someone, please talk to me. But push comes to shove, there's a taboo about doing that to a stranger. There's a taboo about burdening the people that you love. There's a taboo about reaching out to a stranger. There's the taboo that when you do, and Mariah's heard this from me, that when you do, people are like, well, what can I do for you? And that kind of breaks your heart, because you're sharing something so deeply personal and painful, and it might seem silly and something that people really don't want to deal with, but to reach out and then get kind of pushed around like that, and it's well intentioned, but for someone to kind of hold that against you, that you opened up to them and that they aren't willing to just say, well, I'm sending you good vibes, or just even the simplest, kindest words besides, I don't know what to do for you. So it's been the running theme, and I'm talking way too much, but please, it really matters. Just sending one nice thought out, just saying one nice thing, just shouting out someone who's working hard, or that you respect, or you enjoyed listening to, or like doing what we all have done, shouting out a good pod or whatever, or just hitting a retweet or a like, something just to help out a fellow faithful. It really matters. For not just this fan base, but for anyone you're friends with on Twitter or whatever.
Well said. And yeah, I think we'll end it on that. You never know when you're going to be that person that had those last words to save somebody's life. Or you never know what could take you 20 seconds to type out. You know, that person may never come to you. That person may never pick up the phone and call you. But just hearing that somebody was there for that person when that person thought nobody in this world was here for them, it makes a difference. So, you know, I didn't want to get too much off the sports topic, but
it is about sports, because a lot of that pain, a lot of that drama is because someone has the bravery to speak up and share how they feel, or share with what they think, or how it affects them in general. And for them to get attacked like that takes a toll on someone. That's bullying someone. That's belittling someone. That's insulting them that they are rose-tinted glasses, or they don't know, or they're ignorant, or they only see the good, or they won't admit the bad. That general bullying, we've all seen that toxicity. And so yeah, it does affect you. And you know what? Everyone talks about physical abuse, but I'm telling you, as someone who's survived, who's dealt with a lot of emotional and mental abuse, that kind of stuff, even well intentioned, even if it's just said in a joking manner, or you don't mean to offend someone at all, it really does take a toll. So honestly, if you take nothing else aside from us just talking and sharing something that we both enjoyed, like I pushed Miriah so hard to do this pod because she kept talking about it, and I was so a fan of her as a person that it happened, and I was lucky enough to be asked back on the show, and be part of her first 2 episodes. And then there was another week I almost was on, but I got sick and I couldn't come on. Please, just, it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing where I'm tagging like 25 people and people are like insanely whatever. Just check up on your fellow people, check up on them, say something nice about them, if whatever. I mean, you don't even have to do it publicly. Just do it in a DM. Like, if that's it, it really does make the absolute biggest difference, and you never know who it's going to be or when it's going to be.
Yes, Melissa, I thank you. And like Joey said, whether people think, whether there's one person that, thinks it's annoying, or, like I told you earlier before we got on here, who cares? Because guess what? The other 29 love it. The other 29 are thankful for you and thankful that you show us that support. Thankful that we have that person that, is
And
not
it
afraid to
does make
show
a
it.
difference, because not only did it help Kev in a really bad scare of his own that I'm not going to go into, because I'm not going to put his drum out there, even though he did clarify what it was on my post. It does help, because even something as simple as pushing someone's channel, because I remember Kev had told me that he had a new show, because I kept asking him when he was going to be on Nothing But Niners, because that was one of my things. I missed him and Mike, NY to the Bay. And he told me about this show called Real Talk, which we mentioned earlier. And he had found these new guys, Don, who's going through something of his own right now. So please send him some love. He had a personal loss lately. That's why they didn't go live on Wednesday.
Yes, prayers up.
And Jew, and he found Dave, and he found Dollar Bill, and they have this pod, the five of them, and they have their own community now. And Silverado Kev is very proud of it, and I'm very happy for him. But even something as simple as that, he reached out to me because he knew I was a super fan. He tells me every time he has a new article coming out, and I appreciate him. He's asked me this week to he tweet a few posts of his, because he knows I will do it for him, and I will happily do it for him. And he knows he doesn't have to ask, but he still does it because that's who he is as a genuine human being. And the crazy part was, one of my tweets, I didn't think anyone read them. I think just, people scroll over them, because it's easy when you don't get likes or retweets or comments. You think people don't notice, right? Like,
Right.
you're getting ignored, or you're not heard. But then Miss Debbie, I hate to do this to her again, because I know she doesn't really enjoy the spotlight on her. But she came out to me and she told me that she had checked out the show, because she had never heard that Kev had a new show. She came to me and she said, "Well, you've been talking about this thing, and I saw it, and I checked it out, and I really liked it. They reminded her of some people she knew, and she became one of the main people who checked it out. And then she retweeted it, and I believe you and Crystal and a few others, including Denise, came out and also checked out the show, and they became followers, and they became people who every once in a while join the chat and join the community. So you really don't know what those things will do until they are answered, if people feel comfortable answering back. But even if they never do, the very fact that you're putting out that goodwill, that those good vibes, those good thoughts, those good energy, I promise you, it won't win you a popularity contest. You won't get the followers. You'll get people annoyed with you, but I promise you, it will make a difference. And that's all we can do. That's all we can control. And it really does make the biggest difference to somebody.
Yes. Melissa, thank you.
Thank you
As
for having
always,
us again.
I thank everybody that hung out with us, that
Especially
continues to
John,
show
because
up.
he's in Ohio and it's late for him too.
Yep. Like I always say, I couldn't do this without, and I wouldn't be doing this without you, without, everybody that shows up to the chat that makes the show go.
I told you for how many weeks you needed me for sound check. I would have been there. And if anything, I will be proud of that. I stood by you and I listened to you, and I still can't believe YouTube gave you that crap for that first show where you couldn't go live. But
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, and I'm a true believer of that. So, all I know how to do is
Thank you for
put
everyone who
my
tuned
boots
in.
on and
Even though
grind.
we didn't pull up all the comments or talk to you, it doesn't mean it's not appreciated. It's just
I pulled up every comment.
she and I
I'm
get
not too big for y'all to show recognition to y'all.
not
Okay.
recognition, but we didn't read every single one and address it. So that's what I meant. I didn't mean to disrespect you.
I know.
But yeah, so everyone, we appreciate you coming in. We appreciate you if you watch this another day. We appreciate that you just have Mariah's back and that you support her channel, because I promise you she will always have your backs, and just please have the kindness to do the same for her, because I swear to you, whoever you are, she will be there and she will be your biggest cheerleader from day one to whenever she finds you. Good, bad, or different, she will support you, because that's just the genuinely beautiful person that she is.
My wife likes to call me a Sour Patch Kid, but yeah. Wing. Hi, my cat friend. Yes, cat curfew is past my bedtime already. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night. Please like, subscribe,
Now
tell a
let's go,
friend.
Brendan Ayuk.
I'll be back next week, and I also have a special extra episode coming either this weekend or sometime next week with a special guest. Stay tuned for that. And like always, go Niners.